Kris.
And I'm Wyatt Elliott from Notebook Entertainment.
And this is Review This.
That was wonderful. Bravo. I loved that. Oh, it was great. Well, it was pretty good. Well, it wasn't bad.
It stinks.
All right, so we're bringing you our first big Review This that's outside the horror genre. We stepped a little bit outside with Last Night in Soho because that's, again, more thriller noir than horror. Mm-hmm. But we're going Marvel today. We are Marvel fanatics, so
yeah.
We are there every Thursday night to see opening night, whatever the new movie is, because we're those kinds of losers. So
we thought we would embrace it and try a review and, see if you guys like it. So
branching out further into pop culture.
Yeah. So, all right. It's Eternals time.
Yeah. So we'll do like we normally do. No spoilers. Just your section where we kind of give an overview of the movie, what we thought of it, our impressions, and then we'll go into the spoiler section where we talk about the plot of the movie and give away basically what happens.
All right. So we've waited for this movie for over a year.
Yeah, and a little background. I'm sure most of you know that it got review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes and a lot of other places because I guess what happened was there's 3 countries that refused to show the film. Saudi Arabia and then like 2 others I can't remember.
I think is one.
No, I think China did show it, but
China's problem with it is because Chloe's out.
Well, they wanted the other ones. They wanted to get rid of the same-sex relationship and then a couple other edits that Marvel just refused to make. Which good on them.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's not showing in those 3 countries. And because word got out that it wasn't showing there because there was a gay scene, that got a lot of people to review bomb this gorgeous movie. Like, this movie is gorgeously shot. It should be a serious contender for the Oscars, for cinematography, for visual effects.
Clearly, yeah.
It doesn't have... A lot of the Marvel movies will have kind of the flashy CGI, but you can tell it's CGI. Black Widow, when she was falling, it was very obviously CGI. This one, it wasn't... It was much better.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the deviants are CGI, but they're really well-designed creatures.
And also
I like
a little cute.
I like the way they evolved, and each one looked different and stuff. That was surprising.
And their powers, how they get their powers through their magic or whatever,
the Eternals,
it's amazing. Angelina Jolie, she plays Thena, and her weapons and stuff, the way she can change them, and it's incredible.
It is very incredible. Even their technology is reminiscent of Iron Man. Which makes you wonder, did they somehow influence him from this?
Yep.
Or Howard Stark, maybe.
Right.
But yeah,
they had to have influenced Howard Stark because
I'm wondering,
they wouldn't need his influence. Yeah,
So I have a feeling this movie is going to become more and more relevant as we're able to explore the Eternals more. Right now, I think people are watching this saying, well, how does this connect to the Marvel Universe? Which I think is pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's very obvious. But also, I do want to try and have us keep this review to just this movie. Guys, not every Marvel movie, there's a problem out there. And it gets to be to the point where you cannot just fairly judge a Marvel movie on its own without how does it fit in here? Where's the rest of the time? Where's it going? I think it's time we start looking at Marvel movies individual as what that movie offers, not what it offers to the greater scheme. And I think Eternals, I think it was a little sloppy. As a storyteller, I think it's a little sloppy in the storytelling direction, but that's because they had so much to cover. And I was telling him, I think making it a 2.5-hour movie was the wrong way to go. I think what they should have done is perhaps introduce the Eternals in a Disney Plus series so that we already get to know these characters. We don't need their background. We don't need to watch centuries of them being here. And then that way we get to the movie and it's just let's solve the problem. Because the second half of this movie was nonstop fantastic. But the build up to get there was a little much and it felt a little rushed in areas and it felt like it was kind of all over the place because they had so many characters that they had to cover.
Yeah, and
that we didn't know about.
Yeah, and I wasn't bored or anything.
No, never.
But I do feel like at the very beginning of it I was worried about because Icarus is one of the first ones you see and he's so stiff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, if they're all going to play it that way and they're all just like, we're gods, we're just going to stand around here and be cool. I'm like, this is going to be awful.
No.
But they were not. And then it turns out there's a reason why he's stiff like that and the way he is. So
and kind of holds himself back from humanity. So.
Yeah, so he was one of my least favorite characters, honestly, of the group. But and back to what you were saying about it should be a Disney Plus series, I completely agree, except I understand that this was in development before Disney Plus.
Well, yeah, of course.
So Feige was already, in development of this.
No,
and
of
probably
course.
With scripts
I'm
and
just
everything.
saying, going forward with things like the Eternals, where you want to introduce us to a whole giant cast of new characters.
Yeah, going forward.
Don't do it in one movie.
No, going forward, that's what they should do. That's what Disney Plus should be for.
Yeah, let's introduce characters, and then here's the movie that fits our giant timeline.
Yeah, like I was telling her too, like I think that's a great way to use the Sonyverse. Is have them, if they want to have Morbius and you want to tell his whole backstory, which is hard to do for a villain in a bigger movie, let Sony do it, and then you can use their characters later. In Marvel movies. Like, I think that's
share, guys. Yep. Sharing is caring.
Yep, with Sony and with Disney Plus, that's how you utilize it.
Exactly. But again, that's the only place where I feel like the movie stumbled, and it's because they just had so much to cover.
Yeah, if it wasn't for so many characters, and not all of them make it out.
Yeah, not all of them survive, so it does thin the herd a little bit.
A little bit, but still, I get it,
Right.
But I guess kudos for them keeping it true to what it was, because they could have eliminated some of them. There's 10 of them, for God's sakes, in the beginning. But, yeah, so. But, I mean, again, I followed it just great, and it went along. I think the pacing, the way that it goes back and forth between present day to the past, present day to the past.
I like that setup.
Was the better way to do it.
Yeah.
Than to go past and to do it linear.
Yeah, just linear. Yeah. No, jumping around was the way to do it, because that also gave us better reveals, too. Because in the linear, then you see who betrays who and who does this, whereas it's more of a mystery the other way. So I love that form of storytelling. And those of us who, have seen Quentin Tarantino and all those films, we're used to nonlinear storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we're very used to it.
We can keep up.
So, but overall, I liked it.
I liked it a lot. It had, again, great special effects, great visual effects. It looked beautiful.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't look like a Marvel movie, but I thought it felt like a Marvel movie.
It did feel like a Marvel movie. It didn't look like it. It did have some humor in it, but it didn't have, like how Thor Ragnarok completely changed from what Thor was to now it's this fun buddy comedy,
Yeah.
I love Thor Ragnarok.
Oh,
but that's what it just didn't have that same you could tell it was a different writer a little bit. You could, and that's fine, because these are Eternals. Like, they've been around for millennia. They shouldn't be sounding like everyone else.
And I didn't think for once, I didn't think their costumes looked like a Marvel costume either. I thought they felt different. I know that's a common complaint. Why do they all have the same tailor? But I didn't think that with this one. I mean, I suppose there's arguments can be made for it, but I think the biggest difference is that Chloe Zhao. And they tapped her before she won the award, but they saw her talent.
Yep. Getting an artist to do this film was the best.
She insisted on natural lighting for most of this, and I don't know how that must have been a nightmare to shoot all of that. But it does look amazing.
It does. It looks fantastic. It pays off well.
Yeah.
And some funny, I guess, little tiny spoilers, but they're not. We were amazed that in this Marvel property, they mentioned 2 DC characters, Batman and Superman. Like, they reference Star Wars and other stuff that Disney owns, and they reference, Thor and all the Marvel characters. But twice they mentioned Batman and then they mentioned Superman. And I'm like, is this Marvel or not?
Yep, and they're both mentioned by Earth people, right?
Yeah.
Earthlings mentioned them. That's what I thought. One was a kid, I know that.
Yeah, one was a kid.
But yeah, I thought that was funny because it's weird so you're acknowledging that DC exists.
Because they were comparing Icarus to Superman, where the Superman reference came up, which fair.
Yeah.
But if you're in the Marvel universe, wouldn't it be closer to compare him to Iron Man, who also flies and shoots beams?
Right. But apparently, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's Feige.
I know we don't have Cyclops in this MCU version yet, but
right. I don't know if it's Feige just middle finger to DC at this point. Like, I don't care anymore. fuck off, but...
I don't know. But
you know.
I found Icarus as boring as I find I hate Superman. I'm a big Batman fan, but I hate Superman. Boring.
I'll say this. I mean, I don't hate Superman, but he's not one of my favorites. Growing up, he was. But I will say this, is that I've heard a lot of comparisons to this and Justice League, the Snyder Cut. This is way better. The Snyder Cut is better than the Joss Whedon cut, but it is not a good movie. Sorry,
good,
Zach.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest with ourselves.
Let's be honest with ourselves.
It's not a good movie.
No, it's better.
Better.
It's not good.
Yes, they took a nice turd and cleaned it up and made it look pretty.
But it's still a turd.
But it still stinks.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So yeah, I mean, everything else is a spoiler. So spoilers!
Oh,
okay.
boy.
Well, I don't even know how to approach this because, again, it goes back and forth. So I don't know if we should just, like, tell the story in its original, like, how it should go
as
over.
the movie, I would say as the movie showed it, and then that way we can talk about each scene.
The Eternals arrive, and it's the beginning of the movie, and there's deviants. And I did jump, like a horror movie jump, because it's this beautiful landscape on the ocean, and there's this little, like, not caveman, but probably like
tribal,
Homo erectus, or even early Homo sapiens, probably.
I think that.
And they're fishing, and there's this little kid, and you see them hearing something or whatever, and the dad yells at the kid, "Run!" And then this thing jumps out of the water, and I was like, "Whoa!" Because like I was expecting something, but not that. I guess I don't know. But I did. It was a horror movie jump for me.
And it's the first time you see the deviants, and it looks fantastic on film. It looks great. Their skin looks like muscle. Where it's all just...
Or wires almost. Like,
it's cool.
Because the deviants, come to find out, because this is the spoiler section, so we can jump ahead like that.
Yes.
Come to find out, the deviants and the Eternals were made by Celestial Ashram. Or Erisham. I'm not sure how to say it. You know me in names by now. We don't go well together.
I'm going to say Erisham.
I think it sounds right. Erisham. Which is the giant celestial that had sent the Eternals to go get rid of the deviants. So the Celestials made both the Eternals and the deviants that they're chasing down. So he's got one group of his kids chasing down and killing the other group of his kids. Hey, Zeddy.
Basically.
That was Zeddy's butt, so.
He's a deviant,
right.
You know, can I say. But yeah, and so then the Eternals show up and they save the day and they save the humans.
Yeah, great scene. And you get to see a little bit of everybody's power.
And again, the powers are really, really cool. Like, even I thought the way Icarus flew looked different than in a lot of movies would portray. He seemed like he would go from a weighted to weightless, and you could see the transition, which I thought was kind of cool. And I liked the way his laser beams in his eyes were yellow. Like, all their powers were like a yellow color. Yeah,
and then, they had the weapons, and then Gilgamesh is the strong guy, and it's really fun. It's a fun opening scene where you get to see him kick ass, basically.
You get to meet all the Eternals and everything and see them how they're supposed to be. So.
They move to start living among the humans because their job is to keep the planet safe from these deviants.
Yeah, because
they don't know why, but it's just they think their mission is to get rid of all the deviants across the universe, and there's different groups of Eternals in all of these different areas around the galaxy. This is just their group of Eternals.
Yeah, and they do execute all the deviants at some point throughout history, and then they're told not to come home because they could come back. Yeah. And they're not explained why, so they just live.
Yep, so they're just like, okay, well, orders are orders, so we'll just stay here. So. But there's a reason that they're wanted to stay there, so we'll get to that. But yeah, so they basically make their home, and they're at Teotihuacan, or I can't say the name of that Mayan city. Yeah. But they're there as the Spanish are invading and fighting the natives peoples. And Druig who's played by Barry Keoghan. He's one of the younger ones. His power is he can take over multiple minds. Like, if you've seen the Avengers, think Loki when he takes over, the whole group of people.
But I like his because he was just instantaneously, his eyes glow
yellow,
and everybody's instantly possessed.
Drops their weapons, stops, and whatever he wants them to do, they'll do it. And Salma Hayek plays a character, Ajax, who is basically the captain of this team. They get all their orders from her. And she tells him, we're not supposed to interfere in human conflict. And he's like, it's bullshit. Like, I have the power to get rid of everything that's wrong with people, and you won't let me. It's like, he's mad. They've come to love Earth. They've come to love humans. And so they don't understand why they can't help make humans the best that they possibly could be. Because, what's his name? Fastos. Fastos has been creating, he created the steam engine back in Macedonia. And Ajax is like, no, it's too early. They can't have that yet. And so he's like, well, here, a plow.
Right. He's all mad.
He's all mad about it. So they do help us with technology, but they don't give us the leaps that, ancient aliens are saying that they did.
And I think that's what Ajax helps them do, is keep them under
the radar.
The radar, because apparently there is a plan and things that happen at a certain time.
And AJ knows the plan. AJ knows exactly why they're still there. She just isn't telling them.
No. It's on a need-to-know basis.
Which, come to find out, she does eventually tell, because when Druig takes over all the Mayans and he just basically walks off with them. He's like, you're going to have to kill me if you want to stop me. And they're all a family, the Eternals. They feel like they're a family together. And they've been there for 3,000 years probably at that point.
Oh, yeah.
So they let him go. They're not going to kill him.
I think that's why I liked Druig. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Druig. I think that's why I liked him, because I told her he reminded me of, he's the Raphael of the group.
Right.
He's the one that's going to do what he wants no matter what.
He's got attitude.
Kind of wants to step away, but wants to be... He's not a bad guy.
No, not at all.
He just
and I love his little flirtation with Makari. She's deaf. And she's played by an actual deaf actress, Lauren Ridloff.
Yeah, and I just like the way that... I don't think he buys into the Eternals bullshit, honestly. But he's going to do, he's going to do him.
Yeah, so he walks off with a whole group of people that he possessed to, I don't know, start a cult or something. I don't know what he's doing.
I would love to see a fight scene, though.
He winds up staying in Mexico.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, yeah. I would love to see a fight scene with him where he can take over a whole bunch of people at once
and make them fight
either each other or somebody else, and it could be like a John Wick style fight.
Right. Well, he sort of does. It wasn't John Wick, but he sort of does that later in the movie. But so he walks off, and Ajax tells everyone, "Look, we're gonna split up from here on out. I want all of you to go out there and explore the world. And when we meet up and stuff, you can tell me what you've learned and all of that. And I want to know what you learn about humanity and the Earth and everything." So they all split up, go their separate ways across the planet.
Seems like a good gig.
Right. And at this point, Icarus and Cersei, played by, again, Richard Madden, and then Gemma Chan, who did fantastic in this movie. Because she was our main character for the most part. She really is, and so she had to pull off a lot.
You see a lot of it through her eyes. Yeah. For sure.
They're a couple at this point, thousands of years together. Come to find out that before they split up, or whatever, they're in Macedonia or Babylon, or at some point, Ajax had pulled Icarus aside because he was the second in command, and told him, this is why we're staying here, because at a certain point, when there's enough people powering the planet, basically, a new celestial will be born. The planet's going to explode, killing all the life on this planet, but that's so that this new celestial can then create billions of other planets that will have life. Again, remember, the celestial Arishem made the deviants that he's sending his Eternals after. And they make them so that the Eternals will go to this planet and stay there and feel like they have a reason to guard this planet. But what they're really doing is ensuring that life comes about intelligently so that the Celestial can be born. And then they're basically taken back to Arishem, and he wipes their minds and then they're sent back to do it again for the next new Celestial being born. So we have no idea how many times this specific team of Eternals has done it, but at one point, Angelina Jolie's Athena, her mind fractures. And I forget what they call it. It's like mind sickness or something.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like your memories are jumbled in your head, and she goes into basically like a blind rage.
She basically goes into like warrior mode.
Yeah.
It's almost like her default setting is, well, I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior, so she goes
I'm
back
gonna
into
kick
fighting
ass.
immediately.
And so she starts fighting her own Eternals.
Yeah.
And so Gilgamesh is able to calm her, kind of like Black Widow calms the Hulk.
Yeah.
And so he says that, as when they separate, he's like, I'm gonna go with her and make sure that she's okay. Because Gilgamesh is like the strong man among them. So he's the only one that can really hold her back. And come to find out, the reason that she's having this, it's not mind madness or whatever. It's literally because her mind had been erased so many times. It's actual memories of their past planets they've been on exploding. Because she keeps saying, it's all ending. Everybody's gonna die. We're all gonna die. And then murks out. So what it is actually the other memories haunting her that the Celestial couldn't quite all get rid of every time they've had to do this. So how many planets have they destroyed,
Oh, yeah, exactly. How many planets have they destroyed? How often does this happen? And a question that they don't address, but I thought of, how many multiverses has this happened in? Like that was one thing I was trying to figure out as I'm watching this is, okay, what multiverse? But they acknowledge the snap.
Yeah,
they talk about Thanos. They talk about all of that. So,
they talk about Steve Rogers and Iron Man being gone.
So clearly this is in the Endgame normal timeline. So that we know of.
Yeah, we don't know where it is in the timeline, but it's after Endgame.
Yeah.
So they all split up, and Cersei and Icarus go their own way because they're a married couple. They've devoted their lives together, but at some point he just leaves her. And she says it's like 1,000 years that she's waiting for him. Like, she just waits for him, doesn't know what happened to him, doesn't hear from him. And eventually she winds up living with Sprite in modern day England, London.
And we should explain, Sprite is in a body of a child.
And I do feel bad for her, because at one point she even asked, once they find out that Ashram made them and stuff, she asked, why would Ashram make me like this? Like, she's jealous of the others because she can't really fit in with humanity. Because after a few years, people are going to notice this child isn't aging.
Yeah, and they kind of explain it like she's got 5 years at whatever she's living at, and then she's got to move.
Yeah.
Because otherwise people start coming onto it. But they don't ever answer why that she was made as
they
a
never
child.
say why she's a child. Why Makari and Druig appear as like late teenagers.
They look very young.
They look like they're teenagers. But their little puppy love flirting is so cute.
Yeah, maybe it'll be explained
I
later.
will say Marvel did it had a first in this movie, a sex scene. It did between Icarus and Cersei when they first get together, and I was like, no way are they really doing this? And I'm like, how many kids are in this theater?
Yeah. I'll say this, it wasn't as graphic as your mind is gonna think it is, but it's way more graphic than I thought they would do in a Marvel movie. Like, they're naked and everything.
Exactly. I'm telling you, I was literally like, how many kids are around me right now? Like, this is not okay, Marvel.
Very tasteful.
It's they don't show anything. No,
they
obviously.
don't. Not even close. But enough to get your mind going. Oh,
yeah. They earned their PG-13 rating here.
They sure did. They sure did.
So we've got Cersei and Sprite living in modern day London, and she's dating Kit Harington. I can't remember his name, but he's the Black Knight.
He ends
that's his character. He's the Black Knight.
Everybody knew that going into this. They announced that a long time ago. So.
Yeah, but I think it's Dane or something.
Dane,
was
that
his
is
name.
his name. Yes, that is his name.
So she's dating him, and Sprite's jealous because she wants a relationship, and Sprite is actually in love with Icarus. Like Cersei is, but he obviously doesn't even look at her because she looks like a child.
Yeah, and they even make the Peter Pan comparison.
Yeah.
That she's like Tinkerbell and she's in love with Peter.
Because Kingo, Camille Nanjiani's character, he realizes that she's in love with Icarus, and he tells her, he's the one that does the Peter Pan comparison. And I just want to say, now that we're talking about Kingo, because turns out Kingo went to India and like had a multi-generational career as a Bollywood star, where he claimed to be like his own great-grandfather, then grandfather, then father, you know?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
To now, here he is.
The posters in the background are hilarious.
With the giant mustache. Oh my god.
It looks just like with the giant mustache.
But with Kingo comes the character I relate most to in any movie.
Oh yeah.
His name's Karan, and he's like his producer, his agent, and he knows everything about him. He knows Kingo's an Eternal. He knows everything about him.
Yep. So he's not fazed
by anything. So he winds up going with them because they have to shut down this movie they're working on to go fight the deviants that have come back. And so he takes Karun with him, and Karun starts off with this giant camera, because they want to document. They're going to make a documentary about the Eternals. And one point they get mad at him, and one of them smashes his camera.
Oh,
and
that
so,
hurt. Oh, I was so mad.
So the next scene that we see him in, he's talking to Kingo's talking to Sprite, and you see the guy in the background with a little bit smaller camera, and she sees it, and she's like, really, how many cameras do you have? And she like grabs it and smashes that one. I'm like, oh god. So the next time you see, he's got a little handheld camera.
Yeah, and each camera gets worse.
This giant battle just happened, and Kingo just like killed this deviant. And he goes, did you get that on camera? And you hear in the background, yeah, I got it. And I'm like, yep, anything for the shot. I relate to this guy so much.
Yeah.
Because he's like, go hide. And he's like, no, we got to get action shots. Like,
I was waiting for it. Do it again. I missed it. Yeah.
The lens cap was on.
Yeah, I was worried he was going to die. A horrible
I
death.
really was. I was like, please don't die. I like
he makes it out alive, thank goodness.
Yeah, Karun makes it out alive. But he's funny. And at one point when they're talking about what to do, because once they're all together, they're kind of debating whether or not they want to just let the world blow up with this new celestial. Because again, remember, the world blowing up bad for us, but it means billions of other planets with life coming into existence. So if they do stop this emergence from happening, then that's billions of planets worth of life that they're potentially killing. So yeah, that's a big philosophical question, you know?
But I like the way Karun, so he's there when they're talking about this, and he kind of goes, well, I'm a human, so I might be a little biased.
Right, but I think we should stop it. Don't blow up the planet. But I'm biased, so, you know, whatever.
But he spoke for all of us.
Right,
you know?
He was us speaking in that moment. Guys, just to put my 2 cents in.
Yeah. Who was my favorite Eternal character? I think it's him. Like, I want a shirt of this guy. I want a shirt. I want a pop doll.
He's my hero.
Yeah.
He did. Awesome. He ran towards danger. They told him to go hide. And he's like, no, we need action shots.
Yeah, he's all about it.
Yep.
He's all about it.
Fantastic.
He's a great
He should get a raise.
Yeah.
Like, Kingo needs to give him a raise.
Disney Plus series.
Of just him and Darcy and Jimmy. What's his name?
Oh, Jimmy Woo?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
Those three. I would watch those three
all
day long.
He could document their FBI investigations.
All right, so they're kind of torn. And Cersei, they discovered at one point that Ajax is dead. They go looking for Ajax before any of the others, because what happened was Cersei, Sprite, and Dane get attacked by a deviant in London. So that's what sets this whole thing off. So they're walking through London. Deviant comes out of the water. They notice it can heal itself, which no other deviant has ever been able to do. But we have seen that's what Ajax's power is. She's able to heal. Because each Eternal has a different power. They don't all have the same one.
No, not at all.
Cersei's power is really cool. Like, she can turn organic matter into other organic matter, like metal, rock, minerals. She can turn them into rose petals.
She turned rocks into water.
Stone, water. Yeah, it's amazing. I love her powers.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and that's the scene you see in the trailer when the bus is flipping and she turns it into petals and you see Dane pick one out of the air, like, because it's so funny. He asked her because she's dating him and he wants her to move in with him, and she's like, no, and he's like, are you a wizard?
You're a wizard, Harry.
Like Doctor Strange. And so when he does find out that she's an Eternal, he's so disappointed that she's not a wizard. He wanted her to be a wizard.
A Falcon says in The Falcon Winter Soldier, it is either aliens, wizards, or robots. Which is it?
Hey, sometimes it's witches with grieving issues.
Witches, I guess, is probably we're on the same category as wizards.
It is not. Take that back. Anyway. So yeah, Dane's gonna be a fun character. I'm excited to see him in more movies.
Yeah.
He seems like he's gonna be a fun character. But we don't see him again until the end, other than like little chat videos and stuff. He got sidelined.
I thought he was going to be the Awkwafina character in this one, where there's always a human kind of.
But that was Karun. So instead of that, I think it's a fair trade-off.
True.
I would have preferred Karun over
Karun
Dane for this one. But what winds up happening is Icarus shows up. So, and she had kind of told him, Dane, about Icarus and just her ex, and that I guess Sprite had told Dane that he could fly and stuff, and she's like, well, he's a pilot.
Yeah, she wasn't a good liar.
And so when Icarus shows up, Dane's like, I take it you're the pilot, because he comes in flying with lasers out of his eyes and stuff.
And he sees all of this, and he's just like, oh, okay.
You must be the pilot.
Now this is making sense. Got it.
Yeah, Dane's a fun character. So the three of them leave Dane behind and go looking for Ajax because they're like, well, Ajax will know what to do. She's in charge. Get to the farm where Ajax was living, and she's dead. And I was so shocked, you guys, because I was like, oh my god, is this a Drew Barrymore, Casey Becker, and Scream thing where they gave us a little bit of Selma Hayek in the beginning, and then she's now dead, which it was. She was dead, but you do see her more throughout the movie in flashbacks and stuff. So they do flesh out her story.
Yeah, they do. But I was still surprised that she died.
Right. I was like, no, not Selma Hayek.
But I think it's funny and this little backstory is when Marvel called her, she initially was like, nope, because she assumed that they wanted her to play the mom or the grandma. But when she read it, she was like, oh, yeah, I'm in.
Right.
Cool.
Okay, the leader of the Eternals? Yeah, okay.
Because she's older now, and so she just assumed.
Which, still gorgeous, doesn't matter.
Oh my God,
she's gorgeous.
Fuck yeah.
Same with Angelina Jolie. I don't care how old that woman is. She's a beautiful woman. But,
yeah, she looks the same.
Looks the same. But yeah, and I did like the way that Angelina, this character, because she had to be very vulnerable while being very strong. Yeah. Because she knew that she could, if she lost control, she could murk out again and kill people who she cared about, people she loved. Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen her true potential yet. No. I really feel like she was held back in this movie. No, because at one point, spoiler alert, Icarus turns out to be a traitor. At one point, she and Icarus start fighting, and Icarus is like, you've never had to fight me before, and she's like, but I've always wanted to. And I was like, yes! Yes, get him! Yeah, that was one of the true shocks of this movie, was that Icarus turned on. I kind of felt it, though, because he's like, I don't know if it's just this portrayal, because, again, when he was talking about he had a very stiff portrayal, and I think it's because his character, they may have told him to act more otherworldly or something, because he does. He specifically holds himself back from humanity because he knows that it's all for nothing. Yeah, Ajax has told him what their real mission is here. And so and it hurts him too because he loves Cersei. He is in love with Cersei, but he sees how much she loves the people. And so that's why he winds up leaving her at some point, because he can no longer stand not being able to tell her the truth, knowing how much she loves humans. They find Ajax dead. And they're all very sad about it because she was their leader. She was like their mother. They're a family. Again, they're a family. They called each other family. They say that they love each other. I believe all of that. And I believe that. Yeah, I believe that they especially because they don't know it, but they've lived these lives together over and over and over again, and just get their minds erased because we don't know what they are. Like they call themselves robots when they find out, because they're like, we're basically just machines that are sent down and then our memories are wiped, but they're not that either, because they do bleed. They're made of organic matter.
For sure. They mentioned that, what was it they said, they have something in them that regenerates them, that keeps them alive
and young and not aging, and
that was part of their engineering.
Yeah. But as we can see with Ajax, they can be killed. So they, from there, go and start gathering everyone else. And as we said, they go to India and get Kingo, which I'm so glad they did, because Karun is amazing. That was a great scene. And we get to see Kamal Nanjiani do some Bollywood moves and stuff. So if you haven't watched Bollywood movies, some of them are really fucking nuts, but amazing.
Oh, sure.
Crazy. And then they did this one called Bride and Prejudice, which is a Bollywood version of Pride and Prejudice, which I just love. And I know you don't care about that, but I just want to say it because I love it.
Look it up on YouTube. There's a Bollywood Spider-Man. It's amazing.
Do it.
It's amazing.
Do it. Okay, so anyway, not about Bollywood, but Bollywood's awesome. So after they get him, they go looking for Gilgamesh and Thena. And that's where we see they've been kind of living a pretty frontier life in Australia, very much on their own. And he's been keeping Thena in line. And I kind of love their relationship. Like, I don't think so much that they're in love with each other, Gilgamesh and Thena. I think that it's a respect. It's a brother-sister thing.
I was just gonna say it's sibling love.
Yeah, like they do love each other.
Oh, and he looks after her like a big brother would.
I don't think even when it's sad and there's scenes between them that are sad and they're resting their heads, I never sense like romantic love out of it. No. I think it's just pure love for who this person is. I love you,
Agreed. Yeah, it's true. It's 100% platonic.
And so when he dies, he's another one that dies during the battle when they go to Mexico next looking for Druig. And he's still in Mexico. He took all the people, and they evolved into whatever the modern day tribe is that he is now.
Yeah, it looks like he's teaching them like martial arts and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's a little cultish, but whatever. They're living in the woods. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
He's fine,
and he's not a bad guy, so he's not gonna have any ill intent with these people. So.
Like I said, if anything, and I don't know if it's going to be revealed later or whatever, but he always kind of felt like he's got a chip on his shoulder with the Eternals.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think
except for Makari, because I think it's puppy love. I think they do have an attraction to each other.
And maybe it's that, like she mentioned, it might be just that teenage rebelliousness. But it does feel like that he has a resentment towards him.
Right, because Sprite, even though Sprite is thousands of years old, and even older than that, because again, she's been doing this over and over, she does. She's very childlike in her jealousies, in the way that she views the world, and it's a very childlike view. It's like even their minds can't really get past evolve where they are.
Yeah, like her love for Icarus is very puppy love-ish.
Very girl first crush stalker type thing,
and definitely enough so that when it's revealed that he's
the bad guy, she goes with him.
She chooses to go with him.
But while they're in Mexico trying to convince Druig to come with them, and he's like, "Wait a minute, so you're telling me that everything's a lie, that I'm this, that I'm that, and you're just like expecting me to figure out what to do?" Like, Ajax is dead. Like, so he doesn't sound like he wants to go with them to find the rest of the team and figure out what to do. But then they're attacked by deviants, and the deviant that had self-healed was there.
Yep.
And they realized that deviant is the one that killed Ajax and absorbed her power, which they had never seen deviants do before.
No, that's something new.
That's something new. So they're fighting, and Gilgamesh winds up being killed during the battle, and while trying to protect Thena, because she's having some freakouts because the battle is triggering her, and when she's about to murk out, like her eyes go white, and it's a frenzy. You can't reach her. No. But he had, like I said, it's very much like Natasha and the Hulk, because like he'll put out his hand and she'll put out hers, and he'll be like, "Remember who you are," and that kind of brings her back to herself. which is important later because the deviant that killed Ajax is the one that kills Gilgamesh, and so it sucks his powers too, and so now it's like super strong on top of it, and it morphs,
and it evolves.
It becomes more. It's able to speak now, and it becomes more humanoid.
Yeah, it's because it starts out walking on all fours, then as it takes the energy, it turns into these are hands now. I'm gonna start walking upright. His mouth more evolves, so we can talk. Yeah, it's creepy but very cool.
Very cool. So later when they're fighting him again and she's kind of in her head, doesn't know what's going on, he uses, because again, he absorbed Gilgamesh, so he knows, and he uses that technique and holds his hand out to her in her mind. And I think he's even using Gilgamesh's voice.
It was similar. He was definitely talking different.
So that's how he winds up trapping Athena, because she touches hands thinking it's Gilgamesh and all that. But that's also how she winds up breaking out of it, because right before he's about to absorb her powers, he takes it too far by having Gilgamesh's voice tell her, remember who you are. And that's the phrase that always snapped her out of it. So it snaps her out of it. She slices him in like 5 pieces.
I was surprised. I thought he was going to be the big bad. I thought Icarus was like just, part, but no, she kills him immediately. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
okay. Yeah,
he's
like
dead.
5 pieces, just...
Yep, done.
I'm like, all right, well, let's start barbecuing, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Right, but again, that's why I think we have yet to see her full potential.
Exactly.
I think she's got powers beyond.
Which, again, I love this little detail that they add. The reason that we have, like, the goddess Athena, or the Epic of Gilgamesh, or the story of Icarus flying too close to the sun, all of these classic mythological stories are because as they're developing with the humans, Sprite uses her powers. She's got powers of Magimmer.
You sure did. Holy shrimp. That's her book, guys. That is her book, The Wonderlandian Chronicles, and that's out there.
Their power is called Magimmetry.
That is really funny.
But it's imagery magic.
I'm not cutting that out.
It's imagery magic. That she uses. So as they're growing with humans, she's telling all these stories and using her friends as stories. So when she's telling the people the Epic of Gilgamesh, she's thinking her Gilgamesh, but they create this
own story,
their own.
And we end up sharing throughout history.
History. So I love that they tie these Eternals back to like the different myths and why their names are familiar to us.
I love it when movies do that. When you can take something in history and write a fictional thing around it that explains it.
Historical fiction.
And it changes history, but also makes sense still, like we were talking about with this past season of American Horror Story. I just think that's fascinating. I love it. I think it's great. As long as you understand it's not true, I think it's fantastic.
That's the key.
So
it is a story, guys.
Yeah, Icarus and the Sun comes back to play. So
Icarus and the Sun does come back into play, but I mean, it's not like he had done that before. Right. But yeah, she specifically creates these stories with her friends' names in them, and then they become like religions and then myths. Anyway. So Gilgamesh is dead. They go to, I think it's the United States is where Phastos is living. With his husband and their adopted son.
Yeah, he's in Chicago.
Was it Chicago?
Yeah,
okay.
They said it was in Chicago.
I couldn't remember. Yeah. But, so Phastos is living, he's got the suburban dream, he's got the house, the yard, he and his husband have adopted a child, and... they seem like a very happy, loving family, and then here come the Eternals to be like, hey, we need you to go on this death-defying mission.
Yeah, I think he had kind of just forgotten all about what,
Well, he got mad. We see his past where his pushing his point where I'm done with humanity came in was after Hiroshima. Yeah. And we see him and Ajax, and he's just sitting there among the wreckage,
the ruins,
crying. And she comes up to comfort him, but there's no comforting him because he's like, I did this. I gave them the technology. I helped them to create these weapons that just destroy everything. And he's like, I can't. He's like, I don't like it. I don't like the people. I don't I don't like where it's going. I'm out. So he presumably was going to go live off the grid in the woods by himself without anybody. Come to find out, nope, he found love with some dude, and they now have a kid, and it's beautiful. And
it is. I think there's been a lot of criticism of Disney over the past few years where they're like, we're going to have a gay character in Beauty and the Beast. And then it turns out it's like, is he gay? Like, it's kind of more of a...
It's like a wink at the end where he's like looking at that guy dancing.
And then in Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, there's a gay character. Ooh.
In the background.
In the background.
In the background.
That kisses another girl at the end.
So to have our first gay superhero, I think is fantastic. To have our first deaf superhero, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with that at all, you guys.
And
like, representation matters.
And he wasn't just the gay character. He's also the scientist. He's
smart
also
guy,
super smart. He's also charismatic.
Very charismatic. I liked him.
Yeah, whoever the actor was.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Okay, Brian Tyree Henry did a great job in this, and is a great... I mean, he's one of the characters I look forward to seeing again in the Marvel Universe. And I was glad that nothing happened to him.
I know, I was so worried. I was like, when he left, I was like, please don't die. Right. You have a little boy.
Yeah, because I'm like that.
It's just like Hawkeye. Like, once you introduce that they have a family, it's like, what the fuck? Like, now this guy can't die. Like, what's going to happen to his kids? Like, stop. Don't give them families.
Oh, man. Do we just open a new door with this video, and now we're going to have to review Hawkeye?
We probably were going to anyway.
Anyways.
So they get him to come along, and they go and they find their ship, which is, if you've ever seen the X-Files, okay? So in the X-Files, the ship that they find, probably in the exact same place where they buried theirs, is this giant rectangle flying saucer ship. And it's a big part of X-Files, I think season 6.
I don't remember.
I think it's
I know
5
what you're
or 6.
talking about, but I don't know what season it was.
And so... It's almost the exact same spaceship that's in X-Files. I was like,
Yeah, it definitely has a familiar, like, it has a futuristic and old look to it.
Yeah.
You know, like...
It was just like the spaceship in X-Files, guys.
But it's cool. It's very cool. And I thought it was cool that where it was, and it was all buried.
Yeah.
And he had to
well, that's
bring it out.
Babylon. They had... basically made their home at the Hanging Gardens of Babylon at some point, and that's where they hid their spaceship, and that's where they left it.
Yeah.
Because when they went to go back, Druig had to possess some archaeologists and make them leave the site they were digging, and then the ship comes out of the ground. They make it come out of the ground, and you see in the hole the remnants of where they used to live.
That was super cool. That was such a good detail.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because I was in the theater like, whoa, that is so cool.
They were standing there earlier in a scene. Like,
that was such a good detail.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they go aboard their ship, and that's where they run into Makari, and that's where she's been living this whole time. And she's like, because her power is super speed.
Yeah.
And so she's sitting there speed reading a book, and she's got all of these like artifacts that she's collected over the years, and they're playing with everything. At one point, Druig picks up a box of Twinkies, and Icarus picks up something else, and they kind of look at each other, and then they real quick switch.
Right. Yeah, and which I haven't done this, but I've heard through the fan bases that if you freeze frame that scene and look it over, you'll see all kinds of things from the 90s and throughout history.
Oh yeah, but we were in the theater, so it's not like we can pause it. So
well, when it comes to Disney Plus,
we're gonna pause it. But Athena finds a sword, she's playing with it, and I think it's I think Phastos is like, is that the black sword? Which comes up later. Hold on. And she's like, no, it's Excalibur.
Yeah.
Like, she's just playing with Excalibur on the ship.
Yeah, whatever.
Icarus finally says that he doesn't agree with the plan. He doesn't want to stop the emergence. He thinks that the Celestials should be born because that's what needs to happen, and that's what the Celestials want, that's what Airshim wants, and that's gonna produce life for billions of other planets. Which is a fair point. Like, he's basically saying we're selfish for stopping this. And again, he's not... That's what makes him a good villain, is he's not entirely wrong.
No.
It's a very hard spot to be in.
Especially as a human.
Right, especially as a human who can't just fly off, you know.
And don't they briefly talk about relocating humans on other planets?
Yeah,
at some point?
what their plan is what they want to do, because they understand the importance of the Celestial being born. So what they want to do, or what they're hoping to do, is just put it off long enough, for them to figure out how to get humans somewhere safe. And that's why their plan is they're gonna figure out how to mind hive together to give Druig enough power to put the Celestial to sleep. That's their plan as of right now. And Icarus is like, hold up, guys. I don't agree to this plan, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, if you're supposed to lead, then why did Ajax make Cersei the one in charge? And that's when it kind of dawns on everyone, like, wait a minute. Why is she the one in charge? Wouldn't it be the second in command? You killed Ajax. And that's when they all realize that he's the one who, and we see in a flashback, he had gone to Ajax 6 days prior to when we first see them in London or whatever, and led her to some deviants to show her that they were back, and she realizes why they're there, because she wants to stop the emergence too. She's tired of this cycle. She said, I've been working for Ashram for millennia, you know, like, I'm tired of the destruction. I'm tired of, I just want life, you know? And so he takes her because he's going to follow the mission. He's a good soldier. He's going to follow the mission. And she basically realizes he's going to kill her. And she says, why don't you just kill me yourself? And he's, because I love you or something, he tells her.
Yeah, something like that. Because he takes her to where the ice caps are melting.
Yeah.
And because he tells her these deviants weren't here before, but now that everything's melting away, they're coming out of the ice, coming back to life, blah, blah. And that's his reason for bringing her there.
But she sees through it, and she's like, why not just kill me yourself? And I think he basically is like, because I love you too much. And then shoves her off the...
Yeah, not that much.
Yeah. And she puts up a little bit of a fight, but the big one that winds up stealing her powers is the one that gets her.
And that's the one.
And that's the one, yeah.
I don't think... Did they ever give him a name? I don't think they did.
I don't think so. I think he was just main deviant.
Yeah,
like, smart deviant.
I guess, yeah.
So they all realize that he's killed her, and they all kind of turn on him, because... Like, even Kingo, who agrees with him, he doesn't think they should stop the emergence either, but he's not cool with him killing Ajax.
Right.
Sprite, however, again, in love with him, decides that she's going to leave with him to make sure that they can't stop the emergence. So she and Icarus take off.
And I don't think, because of her position, I don't think Sprite has any invested interest in surviving on Earth.
And she doesn't she hates humans because she can't, she's never going to fit in with them, is her argument. She's, I'm never going to be able to have what you have with them, because I'll never get to know them like that. Yeah. So they make their way to where the Celestial is starting to emerge. And again, they have a fight with Icarus. They're trying to, because at some point earlier during the fight in Mexico, when Cersei was fighting off a deviant, she wound up, because remember, her power is turning things into other things. She was able to turn the deviant attacking her into a tree. And they were like, And
she's like, I don't know how I did that.
I know. They're like, how did you do that? She's like, I don't know.
Yeah. It was
and
cool.
she's like, I don't think I can do it again. But they're counting on her now to do it again. To kind of turn it into something else or whatever. Because Druig, they think Druig's dead. Because Icarus and him had met up in the volcano that was getting ready to erupt, which is the indication that the thing is coming. And they got into a fight. And last we see Druig, he's getting shot into the dirt by Icarus's laser eyes. And Icarus flies down to the beach where everyone else is and tells them, yeah, he's gone. Your plan's not going to work now. And so that's when they're like, okay, well, we got to get Cersei up there so that she can do something to stop it, and we'll still do our hive mind, whatever, to give her the power. Yeah,
which is something Astos comes up with.
Yeah, he creates a bracelet that they can all wear.
Yep.
That will link them.
Yeah, and so I think that
Which is comic accurate, I believe.
It is very comic accurate, but I like the way that they were showing them discovering that they
it
could
wasn't
do
just
this.
easy. Like,
they weren't sure they could do this.
No.
They never done this before.
And he had to build it, like Tony Stark. Like, he had to figure it out. He was pulling out different components and putting stuff together.
Yeah.
And
I'm starting to see the influence when these characters on other Marvel things. And I think that somehow it's going to be revealed later that Phastos taught Howard Stark or something. Or gave him some technology or something.
Maybe even Hank Pym. Who knows?
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, Phastos could have had dealings with both those guys. Who knows? But yeah, so he created the things for them to hive mind. So Cersei's basically like, keep Icarus detained, whatever. And so he has this really cool thing, which I don't know why he didn't use it before, but Phastos sends this, like, because his power is he can make gadgets and that's his weapons. So he throws this gadget at Icarus, which, like, pulls him down to the ground and, like, makes it so he can't fly. He tries to shoot his laser eyes at him, and he can only go shoot so far.
Yeah, it totally restricts him and his magic and his powers. And it's like kryptonite, basically.
Right.
It's his kryptonite.
So he's doing that while Angelina Jolie is killing that deviant. And Cersei is running up to try and get to the Celestial before it breaches completely. And up there, she sees Ajax. And Ajax is telling her, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not strong enough. You don't have enough power. And she realizes, well, Ajax dead. Who else has been up here? Right. Sprite, who has the power of... So she's thinking... Because we had seen Sprite is able to turn herself into something else to look different. So she's thinking she's talking to Sprite with just a visage of Ajax over her. Turns out Sprite was making Ajax appear, but she was behind her, stabs her with a knife.
Like when I first saw that scene, I thought, okay, so she Obi-Wan Kenobi now? Like, how can she?
Well, I thought so too until she started talking down to her. I was like, oh, that's not the pep talk that ghosts usually give, that mentor ghosts give.
No,
I was like, this is not mentor ghost.
This is deceiving ghost.
Right, this is not, you can do it. This is, fuck you, ghost. Right. So Cersei turns the knife into water. Druid comes out of nowhere. So he's not dead. He comes out of nowhere and picks up a rock and knocks Sprite out. And she turns the knife into water and he tells her, go. Like, go.
Right.
The whole world is breaking apart at this point. We're seeing stuff all over the place just breaking apart. So she runs up to the very top and she starts turning it into ice so that it'll freeze and go to sleep, basically. But then Icarus shows up. He busts free of the thing that Phastos has trapped him in and flies up there to confront her. And she's kind of looking at him like, do it, bitch. And he tries. You see his eyes light up like he's going to shoot her with his eyes, but he just can't. He loves her.
He loves her too much.
He loves her too much, and he just can't. And so I guess there's some kind of surge because, again, the Eternals are supposed to be there to help guide the Celestial into being. So when there's a moment where there's special energy or something in the air because the Celestial is emerging, and so that traps them all. And so all of them, even Sprite and Icarus, who didn't want to help, get caught up in this mind hive thing.
Yeah, and they're all like paralyzed.
Yep, and they're all floating up, and then Cersei breaks free and comes down and uses all of their power to complete her whatever she's doing and turns the Celestial to ice.
Yeah, because you see the hand coming out of the ground.
Yeah,
it's huge.
It's huge.
And you see a little bit of his head coming out.
So now on Earth is this new tourist spot where there's like a head and part of a hand peeking out of the ocean.
Which I think would be phenomenal.
I would go there.
Disney World needs to make that and just put that in this randomly in the background. Here's where the Celestial almost emerged.
Right.
If you look to your right, I think that would be fantastic.
So they stop the Celestial from emerging, and Icarus basically can't. I think he can't live with what he did because now He's tried to kill the woman he loved. He did kill Ajax. He's partly responsible for Gilgamesh's death.
Yep, and he's failed in his mission. So
he's failed his mission. He's got nothing.
He's got nothing. So
he turns around and flies off and literally out into space, turns around, looks at Earth one more time, and then like Icarus in the story, flies towards the sun, only he makes it and
just goes into the sun.
Flies right into the sun.
I can only assume that's the end of him. Like,
right. I mean,
I don't know. Can sun kill them?
I'm assuming he's got heat ray vision, but like I'm assuming the sun is a little too hot.
A little hotter, yeah. I'm assuming so, but
just a little too hot.
Who knows? Nobody's ever really dead in the Marvel.
Right. So presumably that's the end of Icarus, but I'm not gonna say it because maybe at the last minute he was like, "Ouch, too hot," and flew off and changed his mind. Like who knows?
Right. Or he's got some power that can make.
Yeah.
It, but
he can survive heat.
But chances are he's dead. And honestly, that's the best thing for them.
Yeah, that's the best arc for that character.
Yeah. We don't. I'm sorry, Richard Madden. We don't need to see you.
Yeah,
again.
we're already gonna have what's his face. God, I hate him from Suicide Squad. John Cena's character.
That
Patriot guy or whatever.
Peacemaker.
Yeah,
Peacemaker.
God, I hated him. I hated him so much in the movie. How dare you kill Rick Flag? I'm sorry, that's a whole other movie. But how dare you kill Rick Flag? So the rest of them think, okay, well, we did it, yay!
Right.
They get back to the beach and Sprite's there, and Cersei is telling her, because again, she took over AJ's spot, so she's got more power right now than all of them.
And she's still connected, she's
still connected. Everybody. She says, I might have a little bit of power left. I can turn you human. You'll no longer have to be an Eternal, but you will grow old and you will die someday. Do you want this? And Sprite says, yes, I want this. And so she takes it, and Sprite is now human.
Which I think is the best solution for this character.
Yes.
Because now you can keep the actress,
yep.
have her come back.
Let her age. She can age.
Yep. Have her come back 3-4 movies from now and whatever. And there she is as a human being. I think that's a great idea.
I like that. Perfect for her. She's going to go live, I guess, with Kingo. Because they're talking about sending her to school, and she's all like, I don't want to go to school. And they're like, well, you're human now, so.
Guess you're going to be the smartest kid in class.
Right, she should be able to just go straight to college.
Should be no problem. Just, it's all formality, basically.
Right, she should be a history major, and then just like, ace everything.
I lived through this, lived through this.
Like, this book is wrong, it actually happened this way.
She knew what all the real history was.
Right, she was there.
What if they have the books from Alexandria in their ship?
Oh, that would be amazing if someone saved those books. That's he laughs at me, but it's still to this day I'm pissed about the burning of the library at Alexandria. All those books just lost. And why? Because war. It's so stupid. All that knowledge we could have had. It hurts me. It hurts me. It hurts my heart.
It really is stupid.
Oh, I'll never get over it. So, Phasos returns home to his husband and his kid, and we get a scene where they're all at Ajax's house, actually, before they all split up. And they're all at Ajax's house out in the Montana wilderness or something, wherever they were. And it's so funny, because Athena is in the kitchen talking to the little boy, and he's like, well, what's your power? And so she shows him, but, and so Phasos runs in, and he's like, your babysitting privileges have been revoked. Get away from my kid.
Because she makes like a giant spear and stabs an apple or something, And then
Druig walks by, and he turns to, and Phasos turns to his kid, and he's like, you just stay away from him.
Well...
I'm like, well, you're not wrong.
Right.
So who was it? It was Makari, Druig, and Thena, I believe, all went on the spaceship.
Yes.
And they decided they were going to go out and try and find other Eternals and tell them the truth about what's going on with their Celestials, and that they were created by their Celestial.
Kind of an eternal uprising is happening.
Right.
Now,
It's the Matrix. They're all waking up.
Yep.
So they leave. They're off planet. So we've got Sprite is going off with Kingo. So they go off to Bollywood, I assume, to make more movies while she grows up. And Cersei goes back to Dane. So he's standing there, and she's he's like, I don't care what you are. I love you. Like I don't care that you're not human. I love you. besides, there's something about my family, and then he gets interrupted.
Yeah, you
turns out he's Black Knight. But he gets interrupted when fucking Arishem parts the clouds.
I know,
and like pulls her up into the air, and so she's up in space in these like rings in front of Arishem, and so are Kingo and Phastos, because the others, remember, aren't on Earth, and Sprite is now human.
Yep.
So those three are now captive in Arishem's grasp, and he's basically like, okay, I see what you did. He's like, and I'm going to see through your memories whether or not these people deserve to live or deserve what you did for them. And then takes them away or whatever. So that's it. That's the end. We don't know. We're like, oh God.
Yeah, I was very surprised that most Marvel movies don't end on quite that.
A big cliffhanger like that.
Yeah.
Like, so the people who are saying, oh, we don't need a sequel to this, like, hell, we don't.
Yeah, no,
there's quite a few threads hanging. What about the three that are in space looking for other Eternals? You know?
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll show up in Guardians.
I think Adam Warlock is going to have something to do with it.
Oh, yeah, because there's 2 end credit scenes. First end credit scene I'll call the Harry Styles end credit scene.
This is the one everyone's talking about.
This spoiled... Okay, I'm so mad because this was spoiled for me. Like, I'm not a huge Harry Styles fan, but I like his music. I think he's cute. Whatever. I got spoiled. Someone was like, oh... It
was on Twitter, wasn't it?
I think it was on Twitter where they're like, Harry Styles is in the new Eternals. Yeah. He's the end scene. He plays Eros, Thanos' brother. And I'm like... Guys!
Which came out after the premiere. So some asshole at the premiere went and did this.
Like, guys, that would have been... I would have loved to have just been sitting there and then Harry Styles walks into a Marvel movie. That would have blown my mind.
I have a feeling it would have gone down like this. She would have gotten excited and everything. I'd be like, who's that? Who is that? Because I sometimes have trouble recognizing him. I get him mixed up with Nick Jonas. I don't know why.
They don't look anything alike.
I'm old, I guess. I don't know.
So they're on the ship with the 3 that floated away, and they're talking, and they're like, we haven't heard from Cersei and Phastos and Kingo and Sprite in a while, guys. Like, it's been 3 weeks or something I think they said.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something boards their ship, and it's this little like troll-looking thing, voiced by Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, which I called that. I listened to him. I was like, is that Patton Oswalt's voice?
And then he's introducing this like figure that's walking in the shadows behind him, and come out, and it's Harry Styles
in a very comic book accurate.
Oh God,
costume.
It was amazing.
Like I guess his persona is known as Star Fox, not the Nintendo game. And I'm not familiar with him a lot. Apparently, he's Thanos' brother. Yeah. He's the Prince of Titan.
He calls himself Eros.
Yeah, and he calls himself Eros. And I guess he has this little troll buddy who's like his servant or something. I don't know. So I'm learning about these characters. Don't know a lot about them, but it was cool. It was very cool to see. The audience were nuts.
Yep. And then the second end credit scene,
I like this one better.
Dealt with Dane, and pulls out this box, and he's sitting there looking at it. And he's building up the nerve courage, to open it, and he finally does, and it's the black sword that had been mentioned earlier in the movie when she was like, "No, this is Excalibur I'm playing with." This is the black sword, and it's the sword that belongs to the Black Knight.
Yeah, and when he goes to touch it, you see like energy and everything flowing through it.
And then a voice calls out and says, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Mm-hmm. And to me, it sounded like Sam Jackson, but I think it's because I'm so used to Sam Jackson coming in and recruiting people.
Exactly. So when I heard it, I didn't think it was Sam Jackson, but I knew it had to have been somebody we know, because they don't show him. He turns and looks, and then it's just gone. So I had to look it up. I didn't know. A lot of people didn't know. People were saying Sam Jackson. Some people were saying it was Kang the Conqueror.
Right.
I didn't think it was Kang the Conqueror. But turns out, by Chloe Zhao, it's Blade. So
I don't get how Blade and Black Knight interconnect.
I don't know either. And I've heard that Marvel's setting up a horror universe. Oh my God, that's going to be so cool. Blade is coming. We know Moon Knight is coming. Apparently Black Knight, because maybe...
Moon Knight is the one Diego
Oscar
Luna?
Isaac? No, Oscar Isaac is
either one. I'm fine with either one.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be so cool. And the images released of him in his costume as Moon Knight is fucking fucking amazing.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so I'm gonna look.
Marvel has been really doing comic accurate stuff lately. It's like, I think they realize we can do whatever we want now.
Yep.
So forget
People
about
accept
changing
it.
stuff. It's comic book accurate. And so apparently, but there's a Werewolf by Night series coming out on Disney Plus. They say it's a special, so it might just be a 1-episode thing. Ghost Rider is rumored to be coming back.
Not with Nicolas Cage.
No, God, not Nicolas Cage and not the guy from the series either. Totally brand new reboot. So I forget what they're called. Somebody out there probably already knows. Maybe leave us in the comments. But there's a team. There's a dark team that's all about supernatural dark universe team.
And that might be where Blade and Black Knight. If they're setting that up, then that I could see.
And they're all gonna hunt vampires and hunt Morbius down. Maybe I don't know where it's gonna go.
I'm just glad that they didn't waste Kit Harington in a boyfriend role. He's actually a character.
Right. I was just surprised how small a part he had. He kind of bookends the movie.
Right.
You know.
Well, he's got more coming, so.
So, because, you're right, though. I'm glad they made it Black Knight, because you could have made it just some generic guy that she was dating.
Which is fine.
He could have been comic relief and all this stuff, but I liked the way they handled it. Yeah. You know? 'Cause
I'm just tired of brilliant actors, what's her face that plays Darcy?
Kat Dennings.
Kat Denning. Yeah, her. I love her. I think she is fantastic. I loved her in Two Broke Girls. I loved her in everything I've ever seen her in.
Oh, yeah. And she's good as Darcy. It's in the Thor movie. She was kind of just
thrown away. I didn't like her as Darcy, really, until she was in WandaVision.
Oh,
and then it's oh, I love this character.
And I think the reason why is because in the Thor movie, she was the comedic best friend to the main girl that every romantic comedy and all has. And she was never given anything much to do, and now she's a hacker, and she's got her own thing going on, and she's useful.
I'll take a Darcy series, please.
Yep, and she's funny, and then you mixed her with who, and it was just freaking phenomenal.
God, it was amazing.
That was fantastic.
But as for Eternals, by itself, standalone, outside of the MCU, I think it was a great movie. I think you didn't need to see the other movies to get it. They kind of tell you what you need to know about the other movies.
Yeah.
So.
And I had read once recently that Chloe Zhao's pitch to Kevin Feige about this movie was she wanted to do a better Prometheus. She wanted to take the ideas Prometheus had, which were good, just not executed well at all. And she wanted to bring that to the Marvel Universe, and clearly she had a vision, and because I think it was great.
Gorgeous movie.
I hate Prometheus. I hate that movie. I hate Alien Covenant even worse, but this was good. This is really what it should have been.
It was entertaining. For the full 2.5 hours, you are entertained. Yeah. I will say, he said it didn't feel long to him. It did feel a little long to me until the second half when everything's really picking up. But again, even though it felt long and I was like, oh my God, I'm still watching this movie, it was never like, oh, is it going to end? It was just like, oh, hey, I'm still watching this movie, you know?
Yeah, I definitely didn't have that problem, but I like Lord of the Rings and people walking for 3 hours.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
All right, so I would say, yes, go see Eternals.
2 thumbs up.
It's amazing.
I liked it.
If you don't want to go to theaters, I'm sure it'll be on Disney Plus in a few months.
Right.
But thanks, guys, for watching and giving us a chance to go outside of horror. If you liked this, let us know. We'll do more. Otherwise, we'll probably do more anyways.
Yeah, because we'll do what we want.
Right. So, like and subscribe. And what's our send-off?
I don't know. We don't... Good night, good fright doesn't really work here.
How about bye?
Bye.